Hey there guys, I'm SonicGhost and welcome back to some more Let's Play Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Last time we flipped Stone Tower on its head and we went through the area, now inverted. In this case, we got ourselves a lot more progress made in the dungeon, collecting all the stray fairies in the process. And we also got ourselves the boss key, which means we are ready to finish this dungeon up. So that is what we're going to be doing today. We're back here in the inverted side of Stone Tower Temple to wrap things up. And first things first, I want to go ahead and take a look up because Tattle's actually pointing out something here on the ceiling. Look! Can't you use the hookshot on this chest? Well, let's find out. Can we do so? Because we've been able to hookshot all these other chests up to this point. Looks like we can. That got us up here, so that upside down chest is actually useful. Who would have thought? Here we looks like we have a returning friend. We got ourselves another Igor here, but this time he's changing things up. He's using a laser beam. This time around, I'm just going to go ahead and shoot him with a light arrow, which will stun him for a moment. Doing so, I can attack his eye, and once again, take him down in 2 shots with the light arrows. Killing this guy reveals a chest here, and it will also unlock a door, so we can go ahead and make some progress. So, before we enter the door, let's see what's inside this treasure chest. At this point, it could be another key, but this cutscene tells us otherwise. We got ourselves the Giant's Mask. Within this mask lies the might of a giant. But can you use its power anywhere? I don't know, can we? Well, that's a no, it's grayed out. I mean, the ceiling is kind of low here, so I guess if we did increase in size, we would probably get crushed. So it kind of makes sense why we can't use it here. But yes, the Giant's Mask is a new mask we have that we can't use at the moment, which is a little unfortunate, but give it a little bit of time. Here, we have a treasure chest up in the ceiling that we can activate with the crystal switch down below, and you need the hookshot up here to continue making your way forward in this room. Hookshotting your way around will get us over to the boss door here. So, let's get into the boss room and fight the boss of the dungeon. Got ourselves a little bit of a difference here, because this room, if we look up, notice how there's an open treasure chest. This is the room where we fought the Garo Master to get the light arrows. This time around, flipped upside down. That means if we jump into the ceiling here for the inverted side, we'll actually enter the boss's domain. Welcome to boss of Stone Tower, the giant mass insect Twinmold. This is a 2-for-1 special, as we don't have one boss to fight, we have 2. We need to defeat both of these guys in order to win the fight. Just his head and tail aren't protected by its hard exoskeleton, so aim carefully. If only you're the same size as it. Well, notice how we can actually put on our Giant's Mask here, but I'm going to opt not to at the moment. Instead, I'm going to grab myself the elemental arrows here. Specifically, I'm going to use the ice arrows because I'm going to snipe this guy, who needs to be as big as one of these creatures if you can go ahead and shoot it from down below. But here's an issue with this. There's no room to move. There's so much going on. Too much Twinmold in my face. They really want you to use the giant mask in this fight, but let's say you skip that mask. The only way you actually can do damage to Twinmold if you skip it is you need to actually use arrows. And if you use the elemental arrows here on Twinmold, it'll actually do more damage. If you shoot a normal arrow at Twinmold, that'll do 2 points worth of damage. If you shoot light arrows here at Twinmold, that'll do 4 points worth of damage. But the red and blue Twinmold are actually weak to fire and ice arrows respectively. The red Twinmold is weak to ice arrows, dealing a total of 6 damage, and the blue Twinmold is weak to fire arrows, which will do a total of 6 damage. So if you are going to be sniping Twinmold with your bow and arrow, use the fire and ice arrows respectively, as these will do the most damage via your bow. Unfortunately, as you can tell, sometimes when you're trying to snipe one, another will get into your face. The safe zone here is to stand on this center pillar area. This area, Twinmold cannot spawn from. They can run into you here, but they can't spawn from this area, so they won't just jump you. Okay, I can't even finish that thought. I didn't mean that way. They can't jump you from the ground. Instead, they can just jump you from just flying on top of you. As you can tell, the arrow method is kind of difficult. So we're really just gonna be doing this to kill one of the two Twinmold bosses here. I mean, how do you say the plural? Twinmold? Twinmai? Maybe? It's just Twinmold, period. Kill one of the two Twinmolds. I don't know how that missed. That one didn't, though. That was a direct contact to the tail. If you're gonna use the arrows, you have to hit the tail, because while Tattle did say you can hit the head or the tail, you can't really with the arrows. It just doesn't really work in the same way. Unfortunately, that was just too far away for our shot to rate count, so that missed. Here, we're going to go ahead and just wait until we get a good opening, and then shoot! Okay, I guess I'll just wait for the tail to come to me. That works too. How are these arrows missing? I swear I'm seeing these go through the dang tail. I guess I'll just once again wait for it to come towards me, or the blue one can come towards me. This is the worst Twinmold luck I've ever had in my life. I'm not kidding. This is one of the worst. And here's the worst part about this fight. I was actually going to compliment it. I was going to say this is one of the best fights in the whole game because it's very innovative. Multiple ways you can fight it, and it's just a clever boss in general. But then, you know, I want to get sniped by the Twinmold brothers here, and it's just a little different. All right, there we go. Hit number 3. One more hit, and that will take this guy out, but it just depends if he lets me hit him. Gonna wait for the tail to get a little exposed. Okay, well, okay, I'm just gonna wait for him to come to me again. I can't even see what the tail is half the time. This is a very cluttered fight. This is, I swear, this is the worst Twinmold fight I had in my life. This is definitely, as we call in the business, the recording curse, because I've never seen a Twinmold fight this bad before. There you go. Finally, we have taken out one of the two Twinmolds. So 4 elemental arrow shots, either fire arrows or ice arrows, that will kill Twinmold. So in this case, 4 ice arrow shots kill the red one. Now let's fight the other one using the Giant's Mask, the way you're supposed to be doing things. Putting this mask on, we will transform into a giant Link. But notice how now we can't use our arrows, so that's why I wanted to snipe the one Twinmold from down in a distance. This form will use magic, so having Chateau Imani is recommended here. If you don't have Chateau Imani, you want to destroy the pillars around you in this fight, because that will drop magic. But you won't have a finite amount of magic, hence why I kind of recommend going into this fight with Chateau Imani in your system if you can. Breaking these down, as we can see, we got some magic drops here, but you can't collect the magic as a giant. They're just 2 small vials, so if you want it, you gotta take the mask off. Another issue here with the Giant's Mask, unfortunately. But notice how we're doing way more damage at this point to Twinmold. Even though we're not doing as much damage in general compared to the elemental arrows, we're hitting them more often. And because of that, the blue one's already dead. The game highly pushes you to use the Giant's Mask here because it's obviously the way this fight was intended to be done. But if for some reason you skip the mask because it is on the way to the boss and nothing prevents you from just walking past the chest, if you manage to do so, you're stuck with using arrows in the fight. And as you can see, that's also kind of a problem because after a while, you can run out of arrows, and if that happens and you don't have a Giant's Mask, that's GG's. You're not winning anymore. But with that, now we got ourselves a heart container, and we got the boss's remains. But you know the drill at this point. Now we defeated the boss in this version of the game, we have to fight the boss in the 3DS version, as they changed things in that version of the game. Alright, so we're here at the entryway of the inverted side of Stone Tower Temple here in the 3DS version, and that's simply because the Twinmold fight is drastically different in this game, to a point where differences start on the way to the boss fight itself. Hence why we're here at the entry point of Stone Tower. One of the first things we're going to see different is this statue here. We can go ahead and check it. We'll see we can go ahead and save our progress up to this point in time. A little late to the party on this one, but this here is called a feather statue. These have been available for quite some time here in the 3DS version, and basically these are just owl statues just without the warping functionality. You can go ahead and use these feather statues to save the game whenever you need to, and they're located all throughout Termina, as mentioned before. They're in dungeons, they're outside in the field, so anytime you need to save, there's probably a feather statue nearby if there's not an owl statue. So, good that they have more ways to save here in this version of the game because it is a portable system after all. Sometimes you just need to make a save real quick before your system dies, and without being able to pause the game and save at any point, the feather statues are a next best thing. Here we got our good old mini-boss friend, the Igor. Want to go ahead and shoot this guy with a couple light arrows. Very quick fight in this version of the game because of just how fast you could shoot elemental arrows in the 3DS version. But once we kill this boss, we'll notice there's a pretty big change. Notice how after we killed this guy, there's no treasure chest spawning here. If we check the map, we'll see that there's no treasure chest whatsoever in this room. In the N64 version, when we killed the Igor in this room, we got ourselves the Giant's Mask. And if we check our inventory here, we'll see that we don't have the Giant's Mask whatsoever. So you may be asking yourself, if we don't have that mask yet, then where's the Giant's Mask located? Well, it's somewhere else here in Stone Tower, so for now, we'll just have to go ahead and continue making our way over to the boss arena, because it's nowhere else to be found at this point, since we got ourselves all the treasure chests open. So it's nowhere in Stone Tower itself, so I'll let you figure that one out on your own. Go ahead and enter the boss lair, but before we jump down, I do want to take a look at this portal, because it is very trippy looking here in this version. This looks like a kaleidoscope with all the different colors they threw into this warp point. It's a very nice looking thing, and honestly, it's a weird touch that just makes it look more alive, but let's go ahead and jump down this kaleidoscope and confront Twinmold once again. There he is. That's one piece of Twinmold, and here comes the second piece. Welcome back, the giant mass insect Twinmold. This time around, you can definitely tell that these two creatures are very different. In fact, we can already see a huge difference here going to the fight. The blue one has eyes on its stomach. Look closely. There's something that looks like an eye in the joints of its body. Try aiming for it, carefully. So with that said, we're gonna need some arrows, so let's equip our bow and some fire arrows to boot. And let's just go ahead and aim at this thing's stomach. Want to go ahead and shoot the eyes on its stomach, but while trying to attack the blue one, the red Twinmold is going to be flying around trying to attack you. At this rate, we'll never beat him. We need to be the same size to even stand a chance. We must have something up our sleeve, right? Well, if this was the N64 version, yes. But we don't have the Giant's Mask here, so that's a no. We don't have anything up our sleeve. What we do have is the blue Twinmold down on the ground. We took out all of its eyes in the stomach. Doing so causes the big eye now to be exposed from its mouth. So now we're gonna just wait for this thing to spin around here a little bit and try to avoid that red one at all costs, because that guy hurts. Looks like this guy's close enough. I could probably just do a spin attack at this point. Get a little closer. Apparently a little closer. There we go. I don't know how close I need to get to the eye before we can actually stab it with a giant spin attack like the Great Spin. But we took out another thing of health here in this guy, which means he's going to retreat. And the blue one will come out of the ground once again, more fierce than ever. I don't know how he hit me from way over on the other side, but sure. These guys, their hitboxes are pretty janky in this version, if you want to be honest. But to be fair, they're also janky in the N64 version, so I guess that's pretty faithful. But now that we took out some of the blue one's health, notice how he has 5 eyes on his stomach now instead of 3. So now this guy has more health, but it really doesn't matter to us because we have an infinite supply of arrows coming back from these pots, and we just keep on shooting at this blue guy until he's down on the ground. So at this point, I'm going to get a little closer to this guy and shoot him with a fire arrow from a distance. And with that, that is the blue Twinmold defeated. He only really takes a couple of hits before he gets down, but it's really not that bad once the guy is stunned. It's just trying to aim for his big old eye. That's the hardest part about fighting this guy, in my opinion. But once we defeat the blue Twinmold, now we're going to see our second difference here in this boss fight. After you defeat the blue Twinmold, a treasure chest spawns back in the center of the arena. At this point, the red Twinmold is nowhere to be seen. He retreats at this point in battle, and he waits to reappear until you open the treasure chest. So I guess at this point, there's nothing else to do but to open the chest. So for defeating the blue Twinmold here, we get ourselves the Giant's Mask. They moved this mask into the boss fight of Stone Tower itself now. Within this mask lies the might of a giant. Could this give you the courage to face gigantic enemies? Set it to X, Y, 1, or 2 if you're ever in a good place to try it on. Once you acquire the Giant's Mask, the red Twinmold is ready for round 2. But he's mad. We took out his brother, so at this point, he needs to call for reinforcements. Little baby Twinmolds. Yikes! That thing's fierce in the sky, and now on top of that, we have these little weirdos to deal with too? Why can't we catch a break? Well, Tattle, I think we're going to be catching a break here, because we can only use the Giant's Mask in a certain room, and it just so happens this boss arena is that room. Let's go ahead and equip the Giant's Mask. Putting on the Giant's Mask will make us a gigantic Link, just like in the N64 version. But in this version of the game, we don't use a sword to attack, we use our fists. So with that said, let's wail on Twinmold. Just keep on punching this guy until he's down for the count, and that is our strategy. Just brute force. You want to go ahead and punch the red Twinmold a total of 10 times? Once you do so, then he'll get stunned and fall to the ground. And now at this point, we can start doing some serious damage. That was incredible! Anyways, now's our chance. Let's take that thing down. Let's go ahead and do so, but instead, I'm gonna go for the head. Grabbing the head, we'll put Twinmold into a nice chokehold here, and just keep on squishing his neck in. Once we're done, we're gonna go ahead and throw him down on the ground, and that did some serious damage to the boss. So, at this point, Twinmold's very upset. He's gonna come out of the ground and gonna spit fireballs at us. We can't hurt Twinmold while he's doing that, so we're just gonna go ahead and let him do his thing. But what we can do is we can grab ourselves a nice boulder like this and chuck it at the guy. Doing so will instantly knock down Twinmold, stunning him in the process. Now we can grab his tail and rotate the control stick at the same time. Doing so, we're gonna rotate this guy all around the field, making him sick in the process, but dealing a lot of damage to that eye inside of him. So at this point, you've pretty much seen the gist of this fight. The big thing to keep in mind is that with the Giant's Mask on, you are draining magic, but if you have Chateau Amani in your system, you're fine. If you don't have Chateau Amani, you want to go ahead and punch all these different rock structures around the field, because they will drop magic for you. At this point, I'm just going to go ahead and grab me the other boulder here in the field, one of two, and I'm going to throw it back at Twinmold once again. Now I'm going to grab his tail, spin that control stick once again, and take this guy down. 3 hits is the magic number. This will defeat Twinmold. So, there's a couple things to note about this boss fight we didn't really get to see, thanks to just how fast we defeated him. For starters, this guy will actually retreat after a while during your fight. You need to deal a total of 10 hits on the Twinmold, or throw a boulder at him to stun the guy. But Twinmold can actually retreat into the ground. If he does that, the 10 hit counter is reset. So you gotta be wearing on him fast, because he unfortunately can get all that health back just by burrowing into the ground. Another thing to mention is that rotating the control stick while throwing around the tail, that actually is kind of a big deal, because if you don't do that, it'll take a total of 4 cycles to defeat this boss instead of 3. Rotating the control stick does more damage. But before we take off this mask, we can also see some differences here with Link, like for example his guard. He just puts up his fist here, and it doesn't really look like it's that helpful as a guard, but you don't have a shield in this form, so it does make sense. But one of my favorite things is just the side hops. Side hopping in this form is just hilarious, because Link is just kind of doing a little shuffle around the ground. It's just so stupid looking, but I love it. You can also hop forward and hop backwards as well. I don't really recommend doing this stuff, maybe side hopping to get out of the way, but the front and backwards jump, not so much. The giant form of Link also moves around very slowly too, so what I also recommend you do is roll around a lot. Not only can this do some damage to little small fry Twinmolds, but this also makes you move way faster than walking, so I just pretty much roll around this boss fight. But that's the giant version of Link, and at this point we're done with it, so let's just take off the mask. Now we can go ahead and grab ourselves our heart container, and we're ready to collect the remains here of Twinmold. But before we do so, there's one more thing I want to go ahead and talk about with this boss fight, and it's regarding the Twinmold fight on the N64 version of this game. So at this point, we've shown off many different ways we can fight Twinmold here in Majora's Mask. You can go ahead and fight this boss using your arrows, whether it be normal types of arrows or elemental arrows. You can use the Giant's Mask. You can attack Twinmold with your sword or with your fists. What if I told you there's one more way we can fight this boss, and that's using some glitches here. The Giant's Mask is a really cool item here in Majora's Mask, but it does have some limitations. Putting on the Giant's Mask allows you to become a giant version of yourself without the cost of magic. And because the magic meter is draining at all times, we can't use the Great Spin Attack, as that requires magic. You can't use two different sources of magic at the same time. So, I'm going to take off my Giant's Mask and put it back on in a different way. I'm going to go ahead, pause the game, and equip the Deku Mask and Great Fairy's Mask to fill up my C buttons. And now I'm going to hover over the Giant's Mask and use the glitch called Equip Swap to equip the Giant's Mask over my Deku Mask slot. Now with the Giant's Mask equipped over my Deku Mask, I'm going to go ahead and put the mask back on. And now I'm going to pause the game once again and swap the Deku Mask with the Great Fairy's Mask. Doing so unequips the Giant's Mask, something you're normally not able to do while wearing the mask itself. So now when I unpause, I'm wearing the Great Fairy's Mask instead. I now put on the Deku Mask, and I can shoot a bubble, which will stop my magic from being drained. Now I can take off the Deku Mask, and I'm a human once again, but now I can go ahead and use the Great Spin Attack along with my other items here to fight Twinmold. Using the Equip Swap glitch on the Giant's Mask provides some very interesting results here. This is a very interesting and fun way you can go ahead and fight Twinmold, because now all your arsenal is available to you and you're at full power. So you can do anything you want in this fight now. And it's a lot of fun to fight Twinmold like this. I can go ahead and try to attack the boss using my elemental arrows now while being a giant Link, which allows me for a lot more creativity in this boss fight. It's a shame that this was never a developer intended way to fight Twinmold, because honestly it's a really cool idea, but with the Equip Swap glitch, anything can really be possible in the N64 Zelda games. And being able to Equip Swap a mask and just basically get its full power out any of its limitations is a big win in my book. So now I'm just going to wait for the other Twinmold to come out, use my Spin Attack once again, and deliver the final blow. And that's Twinmold defeated once again. Now, you may be wondering, how do you get back to normal? Because at this point, you would think putting the Giant's Mask on, its effect would make you giant. So, how do you shrink back down to normal size? Well, to shrink back down, all you need to do is put the Giant's Mask back on, and the process will work in reverse. Putting the Giant's Mask on while giant will shrink you back down to a normal size. Your magic meter will be drained in the state, but allows you to collect your heart container here, and also allows you to step into the blue warp. And when you leave the area with the blue warp, this will return you back to normal once you're taken out of the dungeon. So, yeah, this glitch is a really useful one, and it's not as game-breaking as you would think. And by game-breaking, I mean more or less like the game's actually broken, and you can no longer proceed. But there's one more thing I need to mention about this area. There's one thing you need to be careful of while fighting Twinmold here in this giant arena. If you go too far out into the sand, you'll notice the sand's a little discolored here. Well, this discolored sand isn't just a visual effect. If you step in this discolored sand, you sink. And if this happens, the boss fight resets. So watch where you're stepping in this fight and don't step out of bounds, because if you do, you're gonna regret it. But now with Twinmold defeated, it's time to collect his remains. You seized Twinmold's remains. You had just freed the innocent spirit that this dark mask had kept imprisoned within the body of the evil Twinmold. Well, we've helped all of you. That's all we can do. Call us. That's what they're saying. Without being told, we understand. So now you help us out in exchange. We'll call you from atop the clock tower. So do something about him, alright? What? Their voices sound sad. You don't want to? Forgive your friend. Forgive our friend? What do you mean by forgive? Huh? What friend? Now with Twinmold defeated, we have just freed this area of its curse, so there's no more curse in this area. But there's still ways in the area, so I'm just gonna freeze this one. Get out of here. Unfortunately, killing Twinmold doesn't remove the entire curse, and the curse here is the dang ways. Want to go ahead and head into this building, because in here is a fairy fountain. This is where we can go ahead and drop off all of our stray fairies. So let's go ahead and do so. Oh, compassionate young one, I am the Great Fairy of Kindness. Thank you for returning my broken and shattered body to normal. As thanks, I shall grant you the Fairy Sword. We got ourselves a new weapon, the Great Fairy Sword. Set the C to use it. Wait, it's not an actual sword, it's a C-button item? That's different. With black roses etched into it, the Great Fairy Sword is the most powerful of all blades. Come see me whenever you are overcome by weariness. So for collecting all the stray fairies here in Stone Tower, we get ourselves the Great Fairy Sword as an equipable item this time around. This is the most powerful sword, as the game says, and it has black roses etched on its blade. The reason why this is a C-button item instead of a normal equip item is that it would replace your gilded sword here, as there's no way to swap equipment. As when we got ourselves the mirror shield, that replaced the hero shield, and now we can no longer hold one of those shields in the game. So because of that, if we replace the gilded sword with the Great Fairy Sword, we would have a two-handed weapon instead of a one-handed one, which kind of is a problem because we can't really use our shield in the same way we can with the gilded sword, so that kind of makes things a little more awkward. If we want the shield Z targeting, we're pretty exposed because this shielding doesn't really help much. You just have a blade in front of your face. That's not really that great. Same for when you're doing a crouch stab. There's no shield in front of you, so you were just exposed. This is only really good for attacking. But we're used to using a two-handed weapon like this because a Deku Stick will do the same thing. But this sword is extremely powerful and it has some pretty good range to it, so it's a great item to have nonetheless. So now that we have ourselves the Great Fairy Sword, we're going to go ahead and end things here. Next time on Let's Play Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, we'll go ahead and explore Coney Canyon, now with the curse lifted from the area. I'll see you guys next time.